Hi everyone, just loving that DMA signature tune. Brilliant, giving me lots of energy. Welcome to this DMA webinar. My name is Mark Cripps. I'm a marketing consultant and also on the board of the DMA. And you're going to have a brilliant time over the next hour. We're going to explore the power of direct mail and specifically how it can positively impact your NPS, your Net Promoter Score. And we have two awesome speakers to guide us through that. We have Sophie Grender, who is the Business Development Manager of Royal Mail Marketreach, and also our sponsor for the webinar. Thank you very much, Sophie. And Charley Howell, who is Assistant Marketing Manager at Waitrose. Sophie's going to talk about some research, share some research with us on the impact of direct mail on NPS, focusing on brand preference and engagement and looking at some demographics, which is pretty awesome, I think. And Charley is going to bring that to life, explaining how Waitrose is using direct mail in specifically their Just For You program. Together, our speakers have some really great knowledge and experience of integrated marketing, CRM, and direct marketing, and they can introduce themselves in more detail and tell you more about their experience. They're going to talk for the next 30 minutes or so, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. I encourage you to write any questions you have on the right-hand side. Click on that question mark icon and the screen opens up, and I will bring up some questions for everyone at the end of the session. I also encourage you to use the DMA events hashtag DMA events, should you find some content particularly compelling and want to share that on Twitter. Also use that should you experience any technical problems such as sound dropping. After the webinar, it's been recorded and it'll be posted on the DMA website. You'll be sent a link by email should you want to share that link with your colleagues or watch it again. With that in mind, I'll hand over to Sophie and ask her to present her slides. Please, Sophie, over to you.
Thank you, Mark. And thanks everyone for joining today. I'm delighted to have Charley with us today as well from Waitrose, and she's got a really great case study to share. But before she shares her case study, I just wanted to do some scene setting for her on what's happened with Waitrose Mail. And mail has always worked in the home, and it's always been a really powerful engagement tool, and this has been heightened as patterns of working and living have shifted in the last year or so. Mail normally boasts really high levels of engagement, but this rose from 91% to 96% during lockdown, and with 88% of people saying they engaged the same or more with mail at this time. And what I wanted to share with you today is not only, we're going to take a closer look basically at Waitrose Mail. And as you may know, if you keep your eye on the supermarket sector, Waitrose has been experiencing and continues to enjoy strong growth, both on and offline. And what we did, we took the JIC mail data, which is the gold standard media metrics for mail, and we can see from that Waitrose actually gains even higher engagement with its own mail. So we've literally here taken Waitrose mail that's been recorded on the JIC mail database, and you can see it gets 99% engagement, which is above average. Its reach is very strong, so for every 100 people who get a Waitrose mail pack, another 20 will see that. And physical engagement is strong, so people return to their mail from Waitrose on average 4.2 times. Now that's actually the same as the average, so it's doing pretty well. But what you can then see is that 48% of people who get mail from Waitrose go on to take some form of commercial action. And by commercial action, what we mean is things like people go in store, it drives them online, or it might get them to use a voucher. So that's incredibly high when you consider the average is 32% for all other sectors combined. So for some reason, people are engaging at incredibly high levels with mail from Waitrose. And one thing I've been looking at recently across a number of sectors, and you may find some of this a little more surprising, is that when you actually drill down into different age groups, the received wisdom, as we all know, is that mail is only engaged with by older people. But you can see here, the Gen Z and millennials in the 17 to 34-year-old age group display higher reach, pretty strong frequency, only a tad less than the 55-plus-year-olds, and their Waitrose mail stays in the home the longest. Now, I have a theory about that they're actually just not quite as efficient at sorting their mail, but we see this consistently, not just in the supermarket sector, but across most sectors that we look at. But actually, one of the other things that's really, really interesting, and again, I've seen this happen across a number of different sectors, is that commercial engagement with mail is strong amongst that younger age group. Now, that's partly because they tend to get slightly less of it. And so they seem to engage at higher levels. But you can see here, that actually they are engaging at higher levels than both those older age groups. And JICMail is unique in this, of any of the joint industry committees that collect this kind of data for other channels, because it actually goes on to capture how consumers interact with their mail in commercial ways. So what this commercial activity encompasses are things like, does it drive them in store? Does it get them to go online, or get them to use a voucher for that matter? And then the other thing it allows us to do, it doesn't stop there. It allows us to actually look at what they did. So of those groups of people who took any form of commercial action, you can see here that interactions with vouchers are extremely high. And our oldest cohort is in fact responding at very high levels at 97%. When Charley actually takes you through the creative work that she's going to share with you in her case study, it may give you some pointers on how they're driving such high voucher redemptions. But I think you can see from this that there's a lot of evidence to suggest that engagement across all age groups, particularly in this supermarket sector and with Waitrose mail in particular, is very, very strong. And finally, before I hand over to Charley, I just wanted to come back to what's changed in terms of engagement during the first lockdown. JICMail looked at some of the key commercial activity to see if it was different. And so you can see in the dark red is Q1 of 2020. So when, of course, we weren't subject to any COVID restrictions. And in the lighter red, it's Q1 of 2021. So literally in the first lockdown. And the red arrows at the top actually indicate the overall increases in some of these commercial actions that people were taking. So you can see plus 15% for discussion, plus 41% for driving people online, and plus 33% for driving people to the mail sender's website. And this trend seems to have continued as many of us are still working from home or spending reduced hours in the office. So now, at this point, what I wanted to do was hand over to Charley, and she's going to take you through how Waitrose used mail to change the dial on their Net Promoter scores with some of their best customers. Over to you, Charley.
Perfect, thank you. Well, thanks for having me here, everyone. I'm just going to give you a brief background of what I'm going to run through today. So I'm going to discuss what our business challenge was initially, sort of the group of customers that we were targeting and what defines them. I'm going to run you through a case study of our Just For You direct mail, some other examples of direct mail we use and why we use it. And then I'm going to just talk through some of the results we have as a case of that. So at Waitrose, our most loyal customers are absolutely paramount to us. They represent a really small percentage of our customer base, but are responsible for a vast amount of our sales. So we have to make sure we are retaining this pot of customers. In around 2017, we saw a bit of a dip in our NPS score by about 15 points. And because these customers are so paramount to us, we had to find a way to reward them. We have quite a few challenges externally, such as value supermarkets being perceived more positively, and the increased demand for online businesses such as HelloFresh, Deliveroo, Amazon, which means we're always having to compete for attention from these customers. And this kind of led to our business challenge to retain our best customers, improve our NPS score, and make them feel more rewarded and thanked. And so to do this, we had to understand our customers. So to define them, at a high level, it is purely based on their spend. So they have to spend a certain amount with Waitrose every 3 months to be classed as a best customer. And from there, you either go into an e-com pot or an in-store pot, depending on your shopping preference. Now, there's a lot more data I can sort of break these categories down into, such as how often you're shopping with us, what kind of shopping you're doing with us. Is it a large shop? Is it a top-up shop? Or if we predict you're about to leave us for another supermarket. I'm going to try and stay more top level, so it's a bit easier to follow, but happy to answer some questions on that later on. So we did a really big deep dive into our best customers to understand who they were and what they would want from marketing. We understood that they're likely to earn more, maybe have their own companies, sort of be at management level within companies. They're going to be part of things like the Wine Society, enjoy nice things in life, be part of like the British Airways Avios scheme, maybe own second homes, enjoy holidays, and they're going to shop a wide range of categories across Waitrose, and they're probably going to live by one. On the graph here, you can see sort of all the categories these customers buy into, and as you can see, it's sort of everything at Waitrose. The one that's quite small is electricals, and that's probably because we don't sell a lot of that at Waitrose. So from there and going into the customer deep dive, we created the Just For You direct mail. This gets its name from the basis of the business challenge. We wanted these customers to feel special and feel rewarded. So by creating a platinum branch for our marketing, it makes the customer feel like something has been created just for them. The direct mail lands roughly every 3 months, and is to around 600,000 to 700,000 customers at Waitrose, and it has a lot more of a premium look and feel than the other direct mails we send out. The content changes every single time we send this mailing, but we do try and steer away from our top line marketing plans because we know that these customers are already engaged with the brand. So we want to sort of showcase them different aspects of Waitrose. Every single mailing also features a recipe, a competition such as winning garden furniture, crockery, or an eat out experience, which also helps with engaging these customers. And whilst we believe the content we're showing is really, really important, we think it's fundamentally the level of personalization on the vouchers is what leads this to be such a successful campaign. When we send these out, every campaign has a 10% control group, and we also have a fallow sale throughout the year, which is where we exclude a pot of customers from receiving any mailings throughout the year, so we can measure the difference between those who are and aren't receiving marketing. So here's some examples of the vouchers we send with this mailing. The vouchers heavily rely on data to make them really personalized. So on the left-hand side, you'll see an example of some in-store vouchers. So if you were an in-store shopper, we will look at your last 3 months of purchase history, and we will basically flag any product you have bought more than 3 times. The reason we do that is because we think if you've bought a product more than 3 times in the last 3 months, it's likely it's going to be one of your favorite products. So therefore, we will give you a voucher for it, and we'll give you 20% off each of those products. The voucher will have an image of the product that you've purchased, which instantly makes the customer understand that we know them as a consumer. And I think that is what's so important in driving sort of brand engagement with us. We also conducted a survey, and customers said to us they do not want to jump through hoops to gain rewards. And that's why we've kept them really simple, like £1 off yogurts or 50p off a smoothie. And hopefully that will engage you. On the right-hand side, we have an example of if you were an online shopper. So online shoppers, we know that some of them are still going to come into the store as well. So that's why we give you a mix of online vouchers and in-store vouchers. We give you a £10 off a £100 shop. And if we predict that you are shopping elsewhere, or if you're going to leave us, then we kind of up the voucher to try and get you to engage back with us. So that is not the only form of direct mail we use at Waitrose. We also target our best customers with some other direct mail. At Christmas this year, we sent our top 100,000 customers a Christmas card from Waitrose. And the message came from James Bailey, who's the CEO of Waitrose, and it included a competition to win crates of champagne, which went down very well, as you can imagine. We also sent our top 10,000 customers Letterbox flowers, and we received really positive comments on social media and to our customer services team from customers. When we sent out a communication recently, this had a really positive impact on how valued our best customers are feeling. So at Waitrose, we believe direct mail plays a fundamental part in our loyalty scheme. First of all, we have, oh, sorry, I'm flipping the slides around. First of all, we have identified these customers as loyal to the brand, so we know they are engaged with us. When we send them a mailing, we know it's going to sit in the home for a longer amount of time. And by including things like vouchers, recipes, and competitions, most likely means they're not going to throw it away straight away. They're going to keep referring back to it. And it leads to constant brand awareness and holds their attention for longer. And whilst some brands steer away from direct mail, we believe it has a powerful force, and especially at the moment. I'm sure as a consumer, sort of most of you have received daily emails from brands during the pandemic, sort of about their response to coronavirus, opening hours of shops, delivery times. And as we were sort of a key brand during the pandemic, we were having to send out those service emails, sort of saying when we were open and how you could shop safely with us. And by sending direct mail, we actually kind of cut through that noise. And this is reflected by when we paused all non-essential communications during the first 2 months of the pandemic. This was the first marketing we reinstated. So after 2 months of pausing everything, we didn't want to lose our best customers, and we made sure this was going back out. There's also a lot more space for content. So during Christmas, we might add a few more pages to our mailing to showcase more Christmas products. And the other thing is it's not just the person it's addressed to who sees this. Everyone in the home might sort of get some brand awareness and pick it up, have a read. So this is an example of another direct mail we use. This is the core campaign, and this goes to customers who are engaged with the brand, but not necessarily in that best category. This mailing can go to anyone between about 350,000 to 2.2 million each month. And it has 6 spend stretch vouchers, an example you can see sort of on the right-hand side, which can be used either in-store or online. Recently, however, we've only been sending this campaign to the most loyal customers within this group. About 2 months ago, we sent out a survey to our best customers to kind of see how we are doing as a brand. And to get them to engage with the survey, they were offered the chance to win a £500 voucher that they could use in both John Lewis and Waitrose. And the results were actually really, really positive on the Just For You campaign. So 70% of customers chose vouchers as their most favoured reward, which was brilliant. 72% of customers were happy to receive vouchers by post, and 60% of customers wanted to be contacted monthly. Now, at the moment, we're only sending the Just For You campaign roughly every 3 months. So this kind of led us to question whether it's something we need to up more and send these out more frequently. But the best result of this campaign was 91% of customers said they felt valued in some way by Waitrose. And as of Q4 in 2020, our NPS score now stands at 76 for these premium customers. And if we compare this to the next level down at Waitrose, that NPS score is at 54, which shows the real difference that we are giving these premium customers. So thank you very much for listening. I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Thank you. That was fantastic content. I really enjoyed it and learnt a lot. A couple of questions have popped up. I'm going to give the first one to Charley, and I think I know the answer anyway. But on slide 22, someone asked the question: is this referring to hard copy direct mail or e-shots? I think I know the answer, but I'd like you to confirm.
Yes, through the post, hard copy direct mail.
Thank you. And another question is targeting Sophie. So Sophie, is the Q4 mentioned in your slides, is that the Christmas period or is it some other period?
Yes, Q4 is definitely the Christmas period. The last slide I had was referencing Q1 of 2020, which was obviously the period that COVID started and we all went into lockdown, and it was contrasting that with the previous, 2021, and it was contrasting that with the corresponding period in 2020. So that was Q1 data. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, say it again.
Yeah, it was.
Is Q4 Christmas?
Q4 is Christmas. Q4 is Christmas. Yeah.
Christmas isn't cancelled. Good, excellent, thank you. Two more questions just come in. So when incentivizing a survey, as you did for NPS, Charley,
Yeah.
does that cause bias in the response, do you think?
I don't think so, because the amount we send the survey to is hundreds of thousands, and there's sort of 5 vouchers up for grabs. So the likelihood of you winning is quite slim. I think it's more, it actually just warrants a response. People think, okay, they engage a bit more and they answer the questions. I don't think it would cause people to lie on a question. It's not like if they say, no, we don't feel valued by Waitrose, they think they'll get a voucher. So no, I think it's just a way of getting more people to respond to us.
Let's focus on competitions for a second. I've never won anything in the millions that I've entered for Waitrose. That's a big hint there. I'll give you my membership number later. Do competitions foster loyalty, do you think?
Yes, I think so. And we've recently launched a new email scheme for these best customers called the Just For You Rewards email. And monthly, we work with suppliers and Waitrose, and we work with in-house teams. And we come up with about sort of 6 different prizes. And every month an email will go out and you have the chance to win sort of 4 different things. And the response rate from that has been great so far. And it's only been out for 3 months.
Thank you. Someone's asked the question, it's again for Charley. What's the ROI on the Letterbox flowers campaign?
Well, we can't measure it, and that wasn't the purpose of it. We fundamentally set out not to kind of, it is fundamentally to just reward those customers. And if we get good feedback from them, okay, we hope they stay loyal to us, and it's a long-term game. So by staying loyal to us, inevitably our sales stay the same and we keep those pot of customers. We can't measure an exact ROI on just sending some flowers to customers. And
are you going to answer in the same way for generic ROI, not just related to the flowers?
Yeah, it's sort of a similar answer. This campaign, it's not like our core campaign. Our core campaign is very much trying to push you into the next spend bracket. This isn't about that. And that kind of comes from our business challenge. Our business challenge was not to sort of make these customers spend money. It is to make them feel rewarded. We kind of flipped a business challenge from what it normally would be. However, in return, we hope that they will stay loyal to us, but we can't sort of pinpoint these exact things.
You mentioned Christmas. Are there any other life stage or seasonal programs that you do? For example, trigger based, if someone moves house, to do something like that, or someone's birthday, or if you notice someone's buying a wedding cake, there's some obvious triggers. So we don't at the moment, but we are looking into certain things. So maybe when you just become a best customer, will you get something then? We tend to go more online for things like birthdays. Thank you. A couple of questions about paper-based versus electronic-based DM. I'm going to throw this one at Sophie and see what she says. Do you feel that e-coms are as effective as paper-based direct mail? And red rag to the ball. You ready for this one? A lot of people, it says this question, perceive hard copy is outdated. Is that demographic? Can you answer that demographically or by industry category, if you agree or don't?
I think young people, it's quite an interesting area. Young people just don't index as highly on getting mail. So when they do get it, from every sector we've looked at, they engage really highly with it. And it doesn't matter which sector that is. The only one that I think I've looked at that bucks that trend very slightly is credit cards. And that's possibly because they're just, they haven't got the kind of wealth that the older cohorts have. So, I mean, I've seen it across retail catalogues, you name it. Young people engage at higher commercial levels than the older groups. What they do differently is they engage physically, often slightly less. Not in this case of Waitrose, but often they are slightly lower on frequency. And I think that is something to do with around the fact that older people have got into a habit. They've formed a habit on how they sort their mail and sift through it, so that they're a lot more ruthless about getting through the post. But bearing in mind they get more of it, so they've probably got more to sort. So that's the kind of thinking behind it. We haven't researched that as such, but it's just uncanny that it comes up in every category, every sector you look at.
Thank you. I'm still interested in exploring the crossover between paper and electronic communications. And commercial actions. I noticed, Sophie, that you had demonstrated a 41% uplift in people going online to research. But paper vouchers deliver the best commercial action, so that infers an offline commercial action. Why are we seeing an uplift in online action when the call to action is based on a paper-based voucher?
I think you get a bit of both, actually. So I think physical vouchers, and again, I've looked at this across a number of supermarket retail brands, they do enjoy incredibly high levels of engagement. And I think it is that very physicality. I don't think if I'm sending a voucher through an email, I'm going to get nearly the same sort of response. And I don't know if you'd agree with that, Charlie, but my experience of working on Sainsbury's was that the paper voucher had this, and we did loads of focus groups on this, that literally it would arrive in the post, and before the recipients had even thought about it, the vouchers would be torn off and straight into the handbag. And we actually did that research where you put cameras in the home, and we saw that quite frequently, that people would kind of go, oh, I don't really use vouchers, do I? But they have this habit, vouchers come out in the handbag. And I just don't see, I've never seen the same sorts of response rates to that in a digital format.
Thank you. Okay, one last question on paper then versus digital, and then I'll get off the topic. Younger people have indexed really highly on your research, and this is for both of you. What are you doing about sustainability challenges, especially with the younger people, and the perceptions that paper is wasteful or environmentally damaging?
Do you want to go? Okay.
Yeah, try.
So for us, it's recyclable, everything. So that we print that on the paper. The other thing is, if you can choose how you want to be contacted by us. So if you don't want to be contacted by mail, that's fine. You can opt out, and we have an email version of the DM. However, surprisingly, more people prefer to it to be mailed to them. But yeah, we can flip between the two. So if they wanted it via email, we'll send it via email.
Thank you. And Sophie, any thoughts on sustainability?
Yeah, I think it's a commonly held misconception that mail isn't particularly sustainable.
Yeah.
And I think if you actually do dig into it and do a bit of research, the print industry has done huge amounts to put, for every tree that's taken down to make into paper, they're planting many more. And actually, at the end of the day, paper is just 100% recyclable, pretty much, unless ink coverage can sometimes affect that. It goes down to pulp, and it can get used again. And that can't be said of quite a few of the digital channels. So there's quite a lot of misconception out there, and I think I would urge anybody who is thinking that to go and take a look at a really interesting website which is called Two Sides, which looks at that.
TWO sides.
Yeah, two, as in, one side, one other side. Go and have a look at it, because it's got some very surprising information. I think if you do believe that paper's bad, it's actually a lot more sustainable than most people give it credit.
Thank you. A few questions coming in to Charlie about the ROI and the window of the ROI. You mentioned a long-termism, so I'll read out the question. It's refreshing to hear consideration for benefits to long-term profitability and growth rather than just a linear, immediate ROI response. Do you find DM difficult to sell in internally at Waitrose without ROI as a key metric? And aligned to that, do you measure retention as a result of the DM activity?
Yeah, so we definitely measure retention, and that's why we take a 10% control group on every campaign we send out, and we have the fallow sell throughout the year. So we'll look sort of after each campaign and yearly, and we will see if that has prevented customers from shopping with us, or if not sending them these mailings has meant they've slipped out of this best customer group. And there's a reason we keep doing this mailing, because those results are telling us to. Sorry, what was the first part of your question again?
The difference between long-term, the lack of immediate ROI.
Okay, yeah, so no. Surprisingly, we kind of tend to do more things of have a priority in a business case. And right now, one of our key business case is protect best customers. And at Waitrose, we're aware we can't say this campaign delivers X. However, we measure it on loyalty, and that's the end goal. We just want our customers to stay loyal, which will eventually lead to more sales, but we can't sort of base it campaign to campaign.
So loyalty is repeat sales by the individual, or volumes over time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Got a question for you again, Charlie. This is from Stephen Mayer at MBA Stack. He says, congratulations on such a fantastic NPS scores. And I guess this is for both of you, actually. How much is the stayability and the hang-around ability of paper-based DM influencing NPS?
Well, I think it definitely drives brand awareness. I think they like the fact, the content within these DMs, like I sort of mentioned, having a recipe, you keep going back and you keep thinking, oh, that recipe looks nice. I need to buy another product from Waitrose that's on that recipe. But I think our NPS scores are influenced more as well about the brand itself, like partners who work in the shop. And there's a lot that goes into our NPS score. We just play part of it.
Sophie, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do think, my first slide talked about, mail having been, it's really an in-home media. And the interesting thing about mail is that when it lands on the mat, it's often only competing with one or two other things, if that, actually. So it does give you an opportunity to get into people's homes, which, again, works incredibly strongly within the supermarket sector, where people live the shopping, eat the food, and enjoy the outcome of having brand interactions with Waitrose. So it's got a very powerful place in the home, yeah. And that's borne out by the data, the fact that it's shared, it gets revisited, and it drives a good number of commercial interactions. So it's getting a lot of media clout.
I think there's evidence of value exchange there as well in the content and in the tangibility of the materials. A couple of questions for you, Charlie, relating to the exclusion lists. If someone is opted into Waitrose emails, do you exclude them from paper-based direct mail? And people who are on the exclusion list, do you find that they start buying from other people?
Yeah, so people who were on the exclusion list, we definitely noticed maybe not a drop in them shopping with us completely, but a drop in their spend with us, their sort of engagement with the brand. And that's sort of how we know to carry on doing this campaign. Sorry, what was the other part of the question?
Scrolling up. While I'm scrolling up, do you use DM to encourage email sign up?
No, we don't. We send DM to sort of put people online. We sort of talk about the benefits of our online shopping, but we don't necessarily say sign up with email. However, you are prompted on that online journey and to sort of adjust your marketing preferences.
Exclusion question. There are two questions. One was the do you, if you sign up to paper-based, sorry, to electronic email, does that mean that you can't get paper-based? And if people are excluded, do they drop off the file?
So if you have email preference, you will still get the direct mails as long as you have a direct mail permission as well. We have to have both permissions for you. However, if we see that you are more of an online shopper in the best customer world, we will send you the direct mail via email.
Thank you. I find your mailings, they smell great, they're very tangible, they look great. Is there a relationship between that emotional reaction and NPS, or that emotional reaction and propensity to buy more from you?
I think so. I think it's definitely kind of how the photography is done. It makes the food look incredible, and they do just have a sort of the weight the paper is. It's thicker. It makes it feel more like a premium brand, and I think that's why people like Waitrose in general. Like, some people might not do their whole shop there, but go, oh right, for Sunday lunch, I'm going to go to Waitrose. It's the special kind of supermarket. Yeah, and I think the way the mailer looks is paramount to how it makes customers feel.
Question from me. Question. Sorry, Sophie, go.
No, I was just going to add to that. I think the premiumness of what Charley's and the team in Waitrose have done, it screams of quality, doesn't it? And you know, you can actually, you know, if you go and look at other retailers, they haven't put as much care and love into what they've created, I don't think. And you know, as a premium brand, I think Waitrose is leading the way really in terms of what can be delivered through a DM pack. You know, the production values are really high, the quality looks great, and as you say, Mark, you can almost smell the lemons when you're looking at the pack, can't you? And I think that's only going to help build that brand relationship.
I remember direct mail packs 20 years ago or something, including ink with little perfume crystals in it. Have you ever done a smell-o-vision roast DM piece? Either of you? No.
No,
Something to consider.
I'll take it back.
A few more questions. The response for younger people was driving online action. As you know, typing URLs is a clunky journey, or is the measure in sales irrespective of online, offline? That's one for Sophie. So I'll say it again. So do you think the fact that online people are used to typing in URLs, is that driving that metric?
I think some of the things that we're really interested in brands looking at is using QR codes. I mean, they're so easy to do now. Most people's phones have the capability, you just point your camera at it and that will take you straight to the destination. It's also highly measurable. One of the other technologies that I think will, it isn't big yet, but it will be, is digital photographic recognition. So again, instead of a QR code, you will put, I mean, that would be great in some of your packs, Charley, you know, point your camera at the recipe. And it could take you to the full explanation of how to do the dish, you know, in the digital space. I think DM has moved on so hugely in terms of how you can create this kind of frictionless offline to online without needing a clunky URL. You know, because I've seen this done in research. You know, people will stand there with a mailing pack in one hand and they're Googling it with the other. So that they're not using the URL either. And you find that time and time again. So that also then makes your attribution quite difficult. So the other one I think is hot at the moment, which more brands could be using, is voice activation. Because again, that's a really seamless way. A mail pack lands, you know, that can take you straight to anywhere you want that customer to be driven in the digital journey.
Voice activated DM pack.
Yeah.
Go on.
People are doing it. People are doing it.
Yeah.
So, for example, you could drive someone to go and sign up. And, you know, they're just using their, I can't say her name because she's in the same room as me. They're using their device, you know, to either sign people up or drive people to specific sets of information. It's a great way of doing it.
Someone's asked, can you explain more about the camera image tech, please?
I can. There are various providers that can do this stuff, but literally, you open your camera, point the phone at it, point the camera part of your phone at it, and it will just take you directly to whatever content was.
Like ordering a pint in a bar at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know how the tech behind it works, but if you're interested, I'm sure we could put you in touch with somebody who does.
Thank you. A few more questions for Charley. How do you encourage people who are in lower spending cohorts to return back to shopping at Waitrose via DM?
So that would have been in sort of the second example of artwork I showed, which we call our core mailer. That sort of, the creative within there is a square format, and it tends to follow the sort of top line marketing plan. So it will probably showcase less sort of premium brands within Waitrose, like the essential range, new products, that kind of thing. And within that mailing, you will get 6 vouchers. And say if you spent £20 a week with us, you would probably get vouchers for spend 22 and we'll give you £4 off. So that kind of thing. And you'll get an in-store barcode you can use or a code to use online. And that's how we kind of promote low spend shoppers.
I was quite surprised to get Rachel's rice pudding featured in my most frequently purchased vouchers. Then I looked back, and I do buy several tubs a week, hence the gut at the moment. But
I know sometimes it can be quite bad, can't it, when you look at it?
I'm grateful to get 50p off, but I don't understand why you would do that if I'm going to buy it anyway.
So it's just more, we always say this is more of a thank you. It's not trying to push you to buy things you don't want. It is literally based around loyalty. So thank you from Waitrose for shopping with us. Here's 50p off your favorite products. And
if there is anyone from Rachel's on the webinar, then I'll give you my email address for any vouchers and free products later on. Go back to you, Charley. How often do you refresh your most loyal customer cohort, and what trends are you seeing in that data?
So every quarter, so roughly every 3 months, we are refreshing that data. We can obviously see it month to month, but that's when we kind of tend to take the key stats. One key thing for us is obviously at Christmas. It's kind of a go-to shop for Christmas, Waitrose. So we tend to get an influx of customers whose spend would kind of be just below becoming a best customer. And then during Christmas, their spend sort of goes way up because they're doing a massive Christmas shop with us. So that's when we kind of see more customers. But apart from that, we've been pretty steady. And during the pandemic, we actually gained a lot of best customers. And I think if we're sort of your local supermarket, then people were obviously doing more shopping with us. But yeah, just every 4 months we look at that data.
Thank you. Final question. It looks like the response for the younger cohort, Charley, was higher than you expected. What were the expectations for that age group?
I think that's one for me, Mark. Yeah. We weren't really, when we set up JICMail data, I think you hear so constantly that people don't think young people engage with mail. You absolutely, and everyone goes, but they're all digital. They live their world in a digital, way. Why would you send them mail? And that, therefore, when you can show people the data and you say, well, actually, 57% of those 17 to 34-year-olds are actually engaging in some form of commercial way with Waitrose mail. I think it kind of, it gets you to think about that myth a little bit. It isn't just old people that engage with mail, which is what everybody thinks. And I think, if we continue to think that, you know, that young people only engage with all forms of digital, brands are missing a trick on how they can actually drive performance and get results, because mail has and always will be a channel that drives response.
Fantastic, thank you. I think we are all out of questions now online anyway, and I think it's been a fabulous session. I'm going to wrap it up now. A couple of comments from people who said that they would like to be put in touch with partners that offer the QR code recognition or the digital photography recognition. If maybe we could follow up on that with the DMA email that goes out with the webinar link, something to consider there. I'm really encouraged by the data and the case study we've seen today. I cut my teeth in a direct marketing agency in the 80s, and I'm really pleased to see that it feels like DM's having a second life. It always was addressable, it always was measurable, but here we can actually see the crossover between online and offline activity, which is really, really encouraging. It has a brand impact, and it does drive very visible and attributable commercial action, which is great to see, and also loyalty. And the whole point of this presentation was NPS. Thank you, ladies. That was fantastic. And I will close by saying that, to remind everyone that if you found the content interesting, please do feature it on Twitter, #DMA events, and to remind you that the webinar has been recorded and you'll get a link to it. And if you want to share that watch it again or share that with your colleagues, please do so. And thank you, Royal Mail Marketreach, for sponsoring the event again and being such a great partner to the DMA. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thanks, Charlie.